Welcome back to the channel now. I can't believe how fast February is actually going. We've got a couple of matches to catch up on, plus I think one thing that's really important I've found over the last few weeks and months with my fishing is ground bait. So what I've done is I've got a little clip in this vlog, so if you're interested in what I've tried to learn about ground bait and trying to manipulate it and help you catch more fish, just stay tuned for that because I'm going to put it in the video. But first of all, I've got two matches to catch up on, and then the third I've got a separate thing for, but I will talk about. So the first match I want to talk about was, I can't remember what it was, the 1st of Feb, which was what would it be now? The third round of the Winter League at Western Pools, and I drew peg 8 on Stretton. Now, it was a little bit cooler back then. Obviously, the weather's changed now, but it's a little bit cooler back then. But I was a bit dubious. It's not tight, but you like a little bit of room, and the pegs there are quite close. So I just felt it was quite narrow, and I feel like I was going to struggle to beat pegs 4, 12, and 29 in my section as well. So I've been on it before, know where to sort of fish. It's probably like 15 meters wide, something like that, and I just set up a line at 13 meters, which is like 4 foot deep. It's quite shallow there as well, so that's why I was a bit dubious about catching, because obviously the depth and the weather, it was just sometimes I didn't feel like the fish would sit there. I fished well the day before, but I just felt that the fish wouldn't sit there. But I was just trying to be positive, trying to make the most of it, not set too much up. So I just set a 30 metre line up with maggots, a bread for dobbing around, a rig for dobbing around, and there's like a hump at 14. Jamie told me about there's like a hump at 14 in line with just in your peg of like in line with peg 7, a little hump. It's probably like just under 4 foot, little hard bit there, like 40 metres. So I set up that, and I set up my 6 metre line as well. And I've had a strange match really. I caught really well early. Not really well. I caught 12 fish in the first 2 and a bit hours, and I thought this is going to get a little bit better. And it's just got worse and worse, and I think it ended up with like 18 fish, something like that. So 6 fish in the last half of the match, which is a bit frustrating because I feel like I could have caught a few, but luckily I've been the right side of the weights. Brian Probert's won section on peg 12 with 41. I come second with £30. Jake next to me at 29, which is, I feel like he had more than me, but he had £1 less than Dave Coulson had 23 or 4 on peg 29. So close section, close bite, close weights and stuff. So yeah, we had a second section in that, and then I went back. I didn't fish the week after. I went back again for the 4th round. Drew peg 28 on Belvadier. Yeah, drew 28 on Belvadier. Now, it's been a good little area, that section. I feel like the fishing changed as well. A lot of pellet fishing. I've done it in my last video talking about trying to work out some pellets. I had Jamie Hughes on peg 33, Ian Hall on peg 1, John Life on peg 3. So we're going to be a tough old section. And first hour and a half, it was lovely. I'd just tap a few pellets in. I'd get so many liners. It was like it was just changing a little bit. I was getting so many liners, I was just being patient, trying to catch them. Just sitting there, tapping like, I had to be quite aggressive with that tapping. It wasn't tapping like 5 or 6 inch, like 10 to 15, quite regular, move around spots. I had 3 different lines I was moving around. And then again, it's like middle of the match, just gone, dead. I couldn't catch anything, so I thought, right, Jamie caught a carp, I think Ian caught a carp. And one thing with Belv, if people catch carp, it's quite hard to catch them up and stuff. So I've like gambled a little bit. I've started feeding some ground bait in my edge. This is why it's important. Ground bait in my edge, and I've caught okay there, but I've had a lot of fish. I must have had like 35, 40 fish, probably. Now, one thing I wish I did, and I didn't listen to people, because one thing I wish I didn't listen to people is a lot of people said there's a lot of roach in Belv, and one thing I've noticed the past few weeks, the eyed and skimmers have started to feed again, which obviously the water temperature is rising. Middle of the match I started to lose feed and pop some bait at 30 metres, and I dropped on that and caught an F1 2-eyed in a skimmer. And I thought that middle of the match where I caught nothing, I could have just ticked over. Even if I caught some of these, just put some fish in the net, because you'll see why when I talk about the result at the end, it'd been really important. But one thing I wish I did as well has been a bit more aggressive, and feeding in the edge, so I was messing around trying to be clever and make little putty balls of ground bait, plopping them in, getting signs and liners like I'd done all day. I thought, sod this, I know how it works. Bit of bait booster in my ground bait, change the consistency up, medium pop, bossed it in, started to get cleaner responsive bites, and also the way where I fed. But I'm going to save that one for when I actually go back and do a video all about that, because I found it so interesting. But one thing I'm not saying I'm not enjoying my fishing, I've not got that thing where I want to, that killer, not the killer edge, but I've just struggled to get like motivated to try and do well, and then at the end of the match I'm so deflated because I've not put my 100% effort in, which is frustrating, because I feel like to do well in these matches now you've got to put 100% in all the time, and I didn't do that. That's my fault personally. Weighed in, Jamie's weighed 37, I've had 36, so second in section again. I think I'm like fourth in the league, but with the droppers and that, I think I'm a little bit lower. But there's 2 rounds to go now. It's warmed up, so hopefully we can get a section win this weekend, and then obviously it's next weekend as well. But the last one I want to talk about is I went up to Morland's farm. I'm going to put it separate because it's a different thing, and you'll see why. But I went up to Morland's farm for the real Lewis & Co. Real Elite Match Masters. It's a right mouthful, but that's what it would do. And what I wanted to do is put myself out of my comfort zone. And I'm not going to give anything away, but when I was driving out that fishery, I haven't felt like that for a long time, where I felt like I didn't get it right. I made a really few mistakes. Yes, I think I had £10, 15 to £11, say, and £17 with my section, Dave Coulson. Well done, pal. But I just feel like I was always in 2 minds of what I wanted to do. Now, was that wrong? And I should have fished like the locals, or should have just tried to do my own thing, fish like the locals and tried to just see if it was enough. But just felt everything was against me, wind was against me. I just went out the car park a bit deflated, and I thought, I haven't felt that for a long time, where I didn't feel like I had it right, and you're questioning what was it right to do. But I filmed the live match, and the reason why is because I wanted to challenge myself and trying to do something a little bit different. The final for this, what I'm trying to qualify for, is at Loch Ken. It's a natural venue, something I don't do, and I want that learning curve, that buzz. I felt it'd be good because they're travelling around the country. If you're interested in trying to qualify for something like this, something unique sort of like match, where it's going to be a big match, it's going to be 40-50 pegger on a natural venue, weekend fishing, 2 days. Well, now what I thought, what a perfect opportunity to actually trying to get to the final, and I hope we get there, because it'll make, well, it's good. I've planned a lot around the year on it, so I hope we get there. But then if we get there, and if we don't, we'll fare miserably and we'll have to try again next year. But if we get there, it's like practice days, match days, what we learn, how we've got on, trying to learn a few things about it, and I'll film everything so you can see how I try and go about learning. But obviously it's very hard muddling, trying to do YouTube, full-time job, fishing full-time. Obviously I'm going to have qualifiers everywhere else, but it's a challenge I've set myself, something I wanted to do. So yeah, only 3 matches to catch up on, or 2 properly to catch up on. That one, the live match, will be out next week probably. I'm going to start to edit now, so do it. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the ground bait little clip that's put it in, because I feel like it's really useful for what I've learned in my fishing, and hopefully you do. Sorry it's raining, because it was terrible weather at Western Pools, but I'll head over to there now, and I'll see you, hopefully, when I've caught a few more fish, and we've got a bit more positive news in March.
Now, sorry to interrupt the video, but don't forget to like and subscribe. It just helps with the channel, and I'll let you get back to the rest of the video now. So let's talk all about the ground baits and what I feel like I've learned this winter, and feel like it's probably a massive edge that some people don't really do, which can help catch them fish. It's fishing with ground bait at this time of year, even in coming into the sort of springtime as well, now coming out of late winter. Throughout the winter months, ground bait has been a key aspect of trying to catch a few fish. Now, you may be thinking, well, ground bait's ground bait, you put a certain amount of water in it, it makes it a fluffy amount, but one thing you can do is manipulate it. So what I mean by that is you can make it obviously a little bit stodgier, so like a little bit of a putty to how you want it to be. You can have it like it is, loose, nicely done ground bait, like loose. You can obviously mould it, goes into a little ball. If you break it up, you feed little nuggets to that. You've got a little bit over wetted ground bait, but adding a little bit of bait booster to this sort of like this mix here can obviously change its properties again depending on how you want to feed the fish in your peg, whether you need to pin them down to the bottom, whether you need to feel like you draw a few fish in. And it's really important, I found, like especially fishing like places like here at Western Pools and a few silverfish matches where different fish arrive in your peg. It can just be a nice additive to put into your ground bait. And I used to be a big believer in just fishing super crush in the winter. I felt like fish love eating expander pellets. It's a nice little fluffy cloud. But I've found this winter that I've probably caught a little bit few more fish just by, I don't know whether it's just chance or coincidence, but it's given me a little bit more confidence fishing with a lot sweeter ground bait. So what I mean by that is, it's a bit Blue Peter style. I've been fishing with F1 Sweet. Now, obviously this is renowned. A lot of consultants use it up and down the country, catch loads of skimmers and stuff like that, and F1s and stuff. So I've been using F1 Sweet in the darker version. Now I feel like this has helped me a little bit just because of how clear, like I do a lot of my fishing here at Western and how clear the lakes go. Now I feel like when the fish are feeding aggressively, or not aggressively, they want to feed, I feel like that Super Crush is really good because it's just stand out on the bottom, the fish coming in inquisitive. But when the fishing can be hard, which it has been this winter, we've had a lot of rain, we've had some cold spells, and certain fish are like shut down at different times. So you've been able to catch, say, skimmers, your smaller F1s, your bigger F1s, the odd carp and stuff. So a lot of the fishing's changed throughout, and I feel like that ground bait's just give me a nice staple just as well. And I feel like that sweet mix just gives a little bit into the water, and just, I don't know, it just makes me feel confident of catching some fish. So one little thing I want to talk about is obviously the consistency of your ground bait. Just mix your ground bait so it's a nice fluffy consistency, it's squeezed together and it can break up in your hand. But one thing I've found when feeding this sort of ground bait in a little putty, obviously when you're leaving your peg a little bit longer and you want to pin a few fish down to the bottom, and obviously a little bit deeper pegs, the last thing you want to do is feed like a tiny amount of ground bait which is quite loose and trying to feed it in 5 or 6 foot. Now early on in the winter when I had the actual festival here at Western, I actually fed a line away from a loose feed maggots, just feeding like a little putty like that, so a tiny little, probably 50p piece size, probably every 3 or 4 fish just to pin and then obviously tap a few maggots over the top. But I just felt like everything I caught there was a bigger stamp. I caught an odd skimmer as well, and I caught some bigger stamp carp and bigger stamp F1s. So obviously this creates less attraction into your peg because obviously you've dulled it down, you've put a lot more water in it, it's a lot more stodgy and it's just a little blob on the bottom, which obviously doesn't attract as many fish into the peg. But when the fish are feeding on the bottom, it just creates a little target area, as where the lighter fluffier mix is going to draw a few fish in. So if you feel like you're fishing in a little bit shallow water, say like 2 foot to say 3 foot, then feeding this loose can be really good. But one thing I like to do as well, and I didn't know he could do this until I went out with Joe Crash years ago, and he showed me a little trick you can do with this bait booster, which can help you change the property of your ground bait. So that's what I mean. You've got one ground bait, but I can feed it in 3 different ways. So you've got situations where we might come into the springtime now, and I probably want a little bit heavier ground bait, but I won't want it stodgy. Now this is where this comes in. Now this, adding a little bit of this at a time will change the property, and I'll do it now for you. So pour a bit in, not too much, don't need loads. And it's a lovely sweet smell. I like that washed out version personally myself, just because just that nice sweet smell, and I feel like it does help it. But that now, I'm mixing that round, and then I can already feel, just have a little go with it if you feel, I can already feel the properties have changed. It's got a lot denser. Now, I've still got the fluffy effect of it falling through the water, but it's obviously a lot heavier property that I can feed. So I'll do a video as well when it sort of comes to that time where fishing in the edge and sort of like springtime F1 fishing. But you can see that there, that difference between the 2 ground baits. That's got more water in it. That's got the booster in it, washed out booster. So if I stodge that, I can still break that up and keep it nice and fluffy still, but that's really stodgy and that's really still got the texture property. So that's one thing I've been doing, playing around with ground, but you need next to nothing as well. I think a bag has probably lasted me most of the winter. I've been not feeding as much. I've probably been taking like 200-300 ml, just taking a cupping kit out, just pouring it in, tipping my water. I'm not taking loads and loads of ground bait because, like I said before, I was only feeding that every 3 or 4 fish, and I'm probably only catching 15 to 30 fish if I'm lucky. that'd be really lucky. So you're not going to be feeding it many times, but you need it in your armoury just to be about. Now, if you were fishing for skimmers and you wanted to pin them down to the bottom, then obviously the overwet stuff. Obviously, this is a bit unique. This with fishing with the bait booster, just because it's obviously a little bit different property where you want to feed a little bit looser on the bottom. But I just found it really interesting. I thought it'd be a nice little video, just because I found, obviously I can't fluff any ground bait up now because I've used it to put my bait booster on, but I just found it really interesting that feeding the ground bait in a certain different way, you can achieve so much by what's in your peg. So if I feel like there's a few skimmers in the peg or a few bigger fish and I want to be a lot more patient, overwet and stodge is going to be the key. But like I said, if I was fishing in a bit shallower water where I feel like I need to draw a fish into my feed, where I've just feed a little bit of ground bait and then a couple of maggots, then that loose ground bait would have been a lot better. But then as I feel like if the fish start to tune in and start to eat ground bait, which they do in sort of this time of year, they can start to like really want to start eating ground bait. It's attractive, they like the taste of it, they like eating it. It's just ground up pellets basically, so that's what they love eating. And that time of year, when that switches, this is going to be one deadly tactic, and I will do a video on it, so you can fish with pots and you can get the most out of your F1 fishing, sort of like in the edge on the deeper venues with this sort of ground bait. But I just wanted to show it here because obviously I've shown you the ground bait and I just found it dead interesting. So yeah, we had the fluffy ground bait, then the overwetted stodge, which is ideal for like your bigger skimmers, your bigger carp and F1s, and then hopefully we'll start using this a little bit more, start using the bait booster. You can use whichever one you want, but I just like the smell of that washed out one. It's just really nice smell. You smell that now, it smells dead sweet, and I just feel like if it gives you confidence, then I was never a big believer in flavours and stuff, but since I started using a little bit of sweet ground bait, I feel like it's really helping me with my fishing. So if I'm confident, I'm obviously going to catch a lot more fish. So I just thought, why not share it, because I found it really interesting on my channel, and hopefully you can put a few more fish in it. So get on the bank, give it a try, manipulate your ground baits, see what works best for you, and hopefully you'll catch loads of fish. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.